Hi guys, and get my head a bit higher.
Hi guys.
Yay! Right, we just woke up. We're all a bit scruffy. It is 9:31 a.m. I'm in Southwest UK. My name is Louis. I'm 56, 57 in July, and obviously an Elvis fan. So I just thought I'd do a live stream. If anyone joins, you're welcome. If many of you wake up and watch these live streams in 4 or 5 hours. So good morning to you when you wake up, usually in America, but you're all around the world. I've had quite a few from Canada and Australia and London, and brilliant. So, right, I'm just going to quickly mention my latest videos. So today I had a Dr. Nick video, and I've been breaking it down into 7 shorts, been adding some footage, and the general gist of this interview, I've named it, I've called it, just simple. So different titles for each short. So Dr. Nick, be quiet. Dr. Nick, why did you write a book? Now, the interviewer, who I don't know who he is, you can tell me if you know. It's quite an old interview, I would say probably from the 90s. I think clearly doesn't like Dr. Nick and is definitely on Elvis's side. And I think the interviewer thinks that Dr. Nick just wrote the book for money and not because he loves Elvis. Because when he questions Dr. Nick, says, why did you write this book? Dr. Nick comes out with an answer where he says, I want people to really know just what a great difference that Elvis made to music in the world. And Dr. Nick doesn't come across as genuine. I personally think that it's so clearly obvious Dr. Nick made that book that's in this video for money. And that's it. And I don't actually like Dr. Nick's body language. I find it quite fake, and I feel like he's lying. I just don't find him very genuine. Now, I could be wrong. He might be the nicest person in the world, but I get a bad feeling while I'm watching it. So the next one is, let's have a look. So we've got, did Elvis go into rehab? And he's asking Dr. Nick this. And Dr. Nick mentions that Elvis had gone to get acupuncture, but instead of getting acupuncture, they were injecting him with some kind of medication that was really a prescribed drug that was getting him stoned. So, and then he says that is when he realized that Elvis may have a problem. So even that just was a bit of an odd reply to his question. But I also think I've never clearly been told that Elvis went into rehab. It wouldn't surprise me if he did. I know he used to book himself into the Memphis hospital regularly, and he would just like to sort of get away from it all. But did I know that Elvis went into rehab? No, I've never had confirmation of this. What do you think? Did he? But Dr. Nick says that he did put him in rehab in Memphis. So, and I think it's in Priscilla's book as well. So it's quite likely. Then one of the questions the interviewer asks is, why did Elvis die? Was it because of drugs? And Dr. Nick very quickly says it definitely was not because of drugs, and that if you read his book, it clearly describes how he has proved that prescribed medication and drugs had nothing to do with Elvis's death. Now, this is Tino, by the way, 3 years old. He wanted to sit with me while I do this live. Tina, say hello.
Hello.
Are you an Elvis fan? Do you like Elvis?
No.
Yeah, he does like Elvis.
No.
Do you look like Elvis?
No.
Anyway, so was it? Yeah. So I'm sorry, but I don't believe that Elvis's death had nothing to do with his prescribed medication. I know Elvis had many illnesses, many, and too many to mention, really, and suffered from a lot of pain. And I do think he inherited some illnesses that I think that his mother also had. But we can't, I think, even I'm an Elvis fan, but I would be lying to myself if I don't think that Elvis taking pills from the mid 1950s until the day he passed had nothing to do with him eventually dying from a probable heart attack. I'd be just kidding myself. It's obvious the prescribed medication were very bad for Elvis. And I know that Elvis, because it was prescribed to him, felt that it was okay, but it wasn't okay. I think most of you probably will agree with me there. So it's actually a very interesting interview, quite an eye-opener. I haven't seen that interview before. And obviously he's quite elderly there. He doesn't actually look well himself. And I know that there's a general feeling that if he hadn't have prescribed all these medications, that Elvis may have lived. I know also that he did get prosecuted, or I don't know if prosecuted is the right word, but he did have to go to hearings, and I think he lost because he did definitely over-prescribe medication to Elvis and many other people. But I don't know the ins and outs really well because I haven't researched it thoroughly. Yeah. So my general overview is fans are still very upset with Dr. Nick, and that he has a lot to blame. But I've also found out that he became very good friends with Elvis. It says in here that they became friends because Elvis's usual doctor had gone away. So Dr. Nick, and this is when Elvis was living in his California home. So Dr. Nick stepped in because Elvis had very bad saddle sores, and he had bought horses for all the Memphis Mafia and family. And there was a problem where they needed a doctor with these saddle sores. And that's how they initially got to know each other. But then they did go on to become very close friends. And Dr. Nick even says in this interview that they were like brothers, or he felt it was like someone he'd grown up with and went to school with. So I do think Elvis probably really liked Dr. Nick, but he would, because Dr. Nick was giving him what he wanted, which is the medication. So it's a funny one. I do think probably Dr. Nick did love Elvis, but I also think his mind was way too much on the money. And I know there were debts. I think there was a mortgage that Dr. Nick took out with Elvis. And from my research, it does show that he did eventually pay back this mortgage to Vernon, I think. Cup of tea in the UK? Anyway, so very interesting. I still want to learn more about Dr. Nick. I know that Dr. Nick went on lots of holidays with him and basically went everywhere with him, went on his concerts with him. And there's quite a few pictures showing him on holiday, I think in Hawaii, and showing them together. And then there's a picture of Elvis, I think, with all his police badges as well. Because, Elvis liked to collect police badges with all of the Memphis Mafia. So there's that. Right, so then I'm going to go on to the next one. So the next one is, so I got the Sammy Davis Jr., who is a hero of mine. I think Sammy Davis Jr. was one of the most gifted entertainers that ever lived. And I also am a big fan of the Rat Pack. So Dean Martin and it's all good, Frank Sinatra and I'm forgetting all the names now, but even Jerry Lewis, just that whole scene that happened. Is it Peter Longworth? I can't remember. And even there was a female member, forget his name, she was policewoman. That she had a series in America that I think was called The Policewoman. Is it? Oh, what's her name? Completely forgot her name. You tell me. A beautiful blonde woman. So that whole scene, and where they would just have this click with the Rat Pack. I love all that scene. So Sammy Davis Jr. here and Tom Jones are on a documentary being interviewed individually with a few other people. and they're talking about his rise to fame. They're talking about when he started to become unwell, and also they're talking about his talent. And I just thought it was a really good interview. They're both quite young in this. Tom Jones looks very young, and really they get it spot on. Things they say about Elvis are so accurate, and I really wanted to break this down into 1 minute slots, and with me interrupting, giving my comments, which I have to do because YouTube expect me to. And I just thought it was really interesting. And I tell you now, I'm going through and some of these shorts, like one of them is called Elvis Presley was having problems. It's like 8,300 views. And I keep going. And with Sammy Davis Jr., and then he talks about the fun had gone in Elvis, and Tom Jones talks about the fun had gone. And what they were saying is that when they were watching him performing in Vegas in the earlier years, Elvis was full of fun, full of life, full of spark, and he would regularly do funny things. But then as the years passed, the fun side of the concerts declined. Elvis became more withdrawn and quieter and just wasn't himself. And you get Sammy Davis Jr. and Tom Jones saying this. And Ursula Andrews talks about the fact that she felt that Elvis was living in a cage, had no life because he was so famous he couldn't go anywhere. There's just some touching things in these shorts I've made, and like this one's had 9,000 views. For the next one, Sammy Davis Jr. and Tom Jones talking about that how a massive big hit Elvis was in Vegas, and that no one really has topped him. And to make it big in Vegas was a real big deal. And they both mentioned that. And that's called Elvis Presley Makes It Big in Vegas. Oh, yeah. And then the other one is Elvis Presley Strikes Lightning in Vegas, because he really did. When Elvis went to Vegas and all the signage went up promoting his concerts, it didn't just affect the hotel and around the hotel. The whole of Vegas felt different because Elvis was there. So it's hard to explain it, but the atmosphere of Vegas felt different because Elvis just was in Vegas. And I've seen this in many interviews, and I understand that as well. I imagine if I lived in Vegas and Elvis was performing in Vegas in the 70s, especially the early 70s, I get it. I get what people are saying. It's just the whole area felt different. So, and then the other part of is this has got 10,000 views, this one. Bear in mind, this is only 2 days ago that I posted this video. Elvis Presley missed being on stage. Elvis Presley had a quiet chat with Tom Jones, telling him that he just missed being on stage, missed live performances, missed interacting with the audiences, and the move, and he was so happy to get out of the movie contracts, which I know we all know about. And so this is before Elvis had started performing in Las Vegas. And Tom Jones talks about that. So they also talk about that when he did his first show in Vegas, that he was nervous. He was very worried about it. He didn't know how successful it was going to be. But we all now know, as Elvis fans, that was another comeback, because he obviously had his '68 comeback, which we all know was a smash. But then he had his Vegas comeback. So you can go and sit on the sofa if you want. You don't have to sit with me. Okay. So anyway, I just love breaking these all down into 1 minute slots. I'm amazed at the views that they're all getting, like tens of thousands of views. And the Elvis channel at the moment, I'm so proud to say, is getting 170,000 views a week, which I think is amazing. So you times that in a month, That's nearly 700,000 views a month, which is just shocking. Thank you. I literally can't believe it. No, we can't have that loud because it's going to come on the video. Oh no, Peppa Pig. Right, so let's go on. Now I want to go on to comments. I enjoy reading the comments. And as usual, a lot of the comments are to do with Priscilla Presley.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, we need to finish now, and then we're going to make you some yummy din-dins. Let's go to comments. Right, we need to finish. And so let's just start from the top. I don't know which ones I'm going to read. So on the Sammy Davis Jr. comment. Sammy, you're a beautiful black American king. He was. I agree. Elvis was a good actor. Music was a bonus. Let's just keep going. Sammy Davis Jr. was a great friend to Elvis and Priscilla. They trusted him 100%. They said he was a gentleman, an honest, decent man. Yep, I believe that. And that was from Eileen Gleason. Sammy was so cool. Saying Elvis was cooking. Yeah, that's how he talks. Elvis was cooking, man. Yeah. Back then is crazy. Then we've got the Colonel ruined Elvis. So let's keep going. Let's read some more of these comments. I'm going to go down a bit further. Right. So this is Debbie Gibson. Instead of putting all the blame on Elvis, Priscilla should look into what her own mother expected of her. All the lies Anne Bulow expected a young girl to live by. That started a very tainted life for a young girl. Elvis was not in the picture at all at that time. Quit putting all the blame on Elvis. Priscilla got hungry for Hollywood lifestyle, glamour, and the money, and she has yet to give up at all costs. So I know what the gist of that is saying. That she basically thinks that Priscilla is a money grabber and still doing it now. And I know a lot of you are very passionate about that. Let's have another one. From Julie. Hi, Julie. Sure, there were good times and there were bad times for Elvis and Priscilla. The good times were very special, and I'm sure they were both, nonetheless, they were both happy. Nonetheless, the happiness for them was temporary. It wasn't meant to be a lifelong thing. Okay, here we go. Ooh, quite a long one. So from Siguras, okay? Priscilla is such a gorgeous woman. I'm sad she had such a tough life. And now at 79, she still has to deal with so much pain. People tried to make her into a villain, but I think she's always tried really hard to find herself. People accuse her of acting entitled to the Presleys, but people fail to realize she was made involved since the age of 14 when Elvis seduced her. See, this is when you get the Priscilla fans who I find also have a problem with Elvis and the fact that he met her so young. Let's keep reading. All she mostly knows is Elvis helped immensely with her upbringing. All she knows is that, and she suffered a lot of things that most people would not be able to withstand, especially at such a young age. To me, in a somewhat logical that she would feel entitled to certain things. She only divorced Elvis because she had to preserve her mental health. People are so quick to judge her and to be so harsh. There is zero empathy. I'm at least glad she had some happy times. It would have been too cruel if she didn't at least have that. And that was from at Sigurat. So I hope you don't mind me reading that comment. Now, I'm going to respond to that a bit. So have a little drink of my tea. Now, I sit on the fence. I have 2 points of view. I completely understand that if you like Priscilla and you followed Priscilla's life, you feel sorry for her because of Elvis's unfaithfulness and because Elvis left her alone a lot, and because when she was left alone and Elvis was on movie sets, he would have affairs with his co-stars, and even when he went on his concerts in the later years, the women were throwing themselves at Elvis in front of her sometimes, and she didn't go to many concerts, but it did happen. And wherever Elvis went, the attention he got from the women, no woman will accept that. No woman would have liked it. So 100%, I agree. The attention Elvis got from women was almost cruel for Priscilla. But we have to turn the coin a bit. Now, Elvis was a superstar, a singer, a movie star, the best looking man that ever lived. So a lot of the things that were coming his way, like the attention he got, he didn't have a say in it. It was going to happen. Wherever he went, he was going to get that kind of adoration and attention. And obviously they all loved him and fancied him, and they all, wanted to meet him. And if they had a chance of kissing him or having an affair with him, they didn't care if he was married or not, which I know is wrong. I also know this, that there was stuff happening on Priscilla's side that was also wrong. I know Priscilla was unfaithful more than once. Now, after they divorced, the financial situation with Priscilla and Elvis, I personally think Priscilla, and I like Priscilla sometimes, not always. There's things I do like, things I don't like. I personally think that financially Priscilla went too far and took too much money. I think, yes, they should have had an amicable divorce and an amount of money and agreed maternity payments, for Lisa Marie. Of course, she deserved a certain amount because they were married. I personally think Priscilla kept going back for more. I don't like it. I also am uncomfortable with a lot of the interviews Priscilla gave in the early years. Now, the ones I've watched that were, I think, late 80s, early 90s, I think, yes, she did paint a good picture of Elvis and talked about how talented he was and how kind he was and how much fun he was and all the fun they had together. But she also would mention his dark side. And I know, really, as she got older, the interviews did change, and she would almost never say a negative thing about Elvis as she got into I would say 60s and 70s. So Priscilla wasn't completely innocent in everything that happened. It wasn't, Elvis isn't totally in the wrong here. And people keep bringing up the fact that she was 14 when they met, but don't forget that Elvis was very clear that things would not get intimate until she got older. He was an old-fashioned guy, but also it wasn't uncommon in the 50s and even 60s for a man to marry a much younger girl. But don't forget, Priscilla was just about to turn 22 when they got married. So Elvis didn't marry a child. He married a woman, and obviously they had a child. Now, I do think Elvis wasn't ready to get married and to commit, and he wasn't ready to be faithful, which I have to be on Priscilla's side for that, because really Elvis should have married. But you're also going to get the Priscilla fans say, and the Elvis fans say, that she knew she was marrying a superstar. She knew she was marrying a very good-looking man that women were literally clambering to get to him. So many say that she knew what she was getting into. Of course, he wasn't going to be unfaithful. Of course, he was having affairs. And I will always say this, no woman should ever have to accept their partner being unfaithful. But I also think that doesn't then mean that Priscilla... Okay, we're nearly done. That doesn't then mean that Priscilla should have gone off and had affairs, especially so close to home, because Mike Stone was a friend of Elvis's, and even the dance instructor, and other people as well. And we know about the book Child Bride. I don't overly comment on the book Child Bride because I'm not convinced that the things I'm reading in Child Bride are accurate or truthful. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying I haven't decided how I feel about that yet. So my response to that comment is, yes, I understand what you're saying, and that Priscilla did go through hell, but there's a whole nother side to it, and you have to do your research and look into Priscilla's life and how she treated Elvis through the decades and even to this day, and the relationship between Priscilla and Lisa Marie. And obviously there's still money wranglings now, and there's a lot of upset about the Priscilla movie. So I personally think to judge Priscilla, you have to see the whole picture. Yeah. So that's my view. So I definitely am not a Priscilla hater, but I also have strong views about things that she did. But I also have strong views about Elvis and the mistakes he made and the things that he did that were unfair, that were wrong. So Elvis was a human being. He made mistakes just like we all do. And we know, come on, relationships are difficult. Let's be honest. Yeah. Whether it be the male or the female, that, you know, long-term relationships come with their problems. And you all know that anyway. So let's go back to some more comments. So, right, here we are. I'm going to just do a few, then I'm going to wind it up and make my beautiful son, Tino, something to eat. I'm going to get you something to eat in a sec. He has eaten lots anyway, but right, let's have a look. All right, so one comment. Whoever is responsible for his death should not be happy. So these are a video that I did that was called Elvis Presley Was Having Problems. Bobby Hoare. Elvis Presley should have been big enough and man enough to walk away. That is the plain truth. And I think the point there is that really the only person that was going to help Elvis was Elvis. And unfortunately, that is quite true. Oh, yeah. I don't know how his doctor was acquitted. So that tells me that if I do my research, Dr. Nick eventually was acquitted. I don't know about that. I need to look that up. Tom Jones was worried about the last concert. He wasn't feeling well. So sad, and was overworked. He definitely was overworked. And I've heard that he was doing 2 to 3 shows a day in Vegas. Imagine that. I've also heard that he was a month on, month off. But is that true? I don't know. So, I mean, some of these comments, let me just whiz down these comments. I mean, I did a live stream. Let me just see what the title of it is. And it's so let me just their relationship. So this live stream I did was 9 days ago, and it's called Elvis and Priscilla Was the Wedding Fake? And it's had 1,400 views, and that is very good for a live stream, and I thank you for that. And loads of comments, and people are very passionate on their views on if they think the live stream, if they think the wedding was fake or not. And I personally don't think it was fake. I think they did have a good patch where they were very happy and they did the wedding. And unfortunately, I think they had a honeymoon period after the wedding where things went well, and Elvis wanted to do the right thing for Lisa Marie and be a good father. But then eventually Elvis did, unfortunately, drift back to, unfortunately, his bad habits of falling in love. And I think Elvis fell in love quite easily. So, right, here's a comment. I don't know all what's written on it, so I'm just going to read it. Anyone carefully checking the story telling of Elvis's ex-wife can notice only one thing, that woman never loved Elvis. Check her book. When she writes that she tried to meet Paul Anka and Elvis was back in the USA, or that she fell again for Elvis during her first vacation. Now, I don't know anything about Paul Anka and Priscilla during her first vacation with Elvis. So she was not in love when she asked to visit him. Right, okay. So this must be when she was living in Germany, I'm guessing. She never been a prisoner in Graceland. Elvis bought her a new car 2 weeks after she married because she refused to be driven to school by Vernon. Well, okay, but Elvis bought everyone a car. Him buying her a car because she didn't want to be driven by Vernon. Well, I don't don't see that as a problem. She made Elvis fire the Memphis Mafia, and their divorce was so tough. Now, I'm not clear on the Memphis Mafia bit. I actually don't think that is true. I think that from what I've learned, that she just really tried to get Elvis to spend more time with her and less time with the Memphis Mafia. And that's fine. They got married. They had a child. She didn't want the Memphis Mafia always around. Everything they did, no matter, whether they were having breakfast or dinner or going on trip, she wanted some time, quality time with just Elvis and Lisa Marie. So I don't believe she made Elvis sack the Memphis Mafia, but she probably had a problem with some of them sometimes. They were always around. So Elvis had to hire a now famous lawyer to defend the father's rights and spent 2 weeks at the hospital. A few days later, she was only after Elvis' money and still is. And this is Val 45687. I can't agree with all of that. I understand your point. I know where you're coming from. But sometimes when I read some of these messages concerning Priscilla, I do find them a little bit hateful. I don't know. I don't want to be hateful. I want to have an opinion. I want to be fair. I don't really want to take sides. But I also think people are entitled to give strong, passionate views, whether I like them or not. Right, what a big mistake. Elvis should have stayed single and dated different women because he was always playing the field. Unfortunately, that's probably quite true. But come on, deep down, we all want to fall in love. We all want to get married. We all want to have kids. We all want to have a family and get a home. So it doesn't matter. Even if we're a superstar, deep down, I think we've got that. And don't forget, Elvis Presley was very old-fashioned, and obviously he was very close to his parents. And he was a Christian. So deep down, Elvis wanted to do the right thing and have a proper Christian wedding and be a faithful, loyal father, husband. But he just couldn't do it. He wasn't ready. I think probably when he got older, I think he could have done it. I think when he got to his late 30s, early 40s, I actually think Elvis probably could have been faithful. But because I think even Elvis, in his own way, God rest his soul, in some ways did need to mature. So this is just my opinion. I'm just Louis in England, an Elvis fan, giving his opinion. So what I say isn't gospel. Let's have a look. Here we go. So it's Lorraine Devlin. What was really special about Elvis was that he was a very generous person, even to people he hardly knew. If he saw them struggling to buy something, he was overworked and keeping a lot of people going on money. His manager took 50% of what he made. He ended up being a slave and to keep others going in money. Oops, you're right. Ended up being a slave to keep others going in money. He needed to retire way long before he did, and he was not a well man. Well, yeah, I actually think I agree with all of that. Definitely, he worked too hard. He did way too many performances in Vegas. Obviously, wasn't well. He had a massive amount of people on his payroll, family, friends, acquaintances. There's a lot of people, obviously the Memphis Mafia. So he was under pressure to keep the money coming in. So yeah, that's a really good comment, Lorraine. I agree with it. So Lynn Martin, he was so pressured he never wanted to be married. His father even said he knew that. And I believe that as well, that Elvis was unsure about getting married. I think he had his doubts. But I think, isn't that really common with most men? I still think he loved her more than she loved him. I think that could have been true after they divorced. I do think that, because she went on to have very serious relationships and children. So I do think she had moved on when it comes to loving other men. But at the same time, Elvis did really like Linda Thompson. I believe that he loved Linda Thompson. And I really like their relationship. And if you watch the interviews of Linda Thompson, it seems very genuine. I think Linda Thompson was really good for Elvis. So I think they both moved on. But I do think that Elvis, if you listen to quite a few interviews, never let go of his torch for Priscilla. He obviously loved other women. I do believe that Priscilla was... I sort of believe, actually, if he could have got back with Priscilla, he may have done. Because I think he wanted to keep the family unit. You know, him and Priscilla and Lisa Marie. I think he wanted to do the right thing for Lisa Marie. What do you think? Oh, sorry, Julie. I've only just read this. Yes, Angie Dickinson. She's the one. And she was part of the Rat Pack, wasn't she? And she's brilliant. I loved her show in the 70s. I was only about 8 or 9 years old. Are you still there, Julie? I hope my kid's not too distracting. Tino, say hello to Julie.
No.
No, he's on his phone watching. What are you doing? What is that? Minecraft?
No. It's Roblox.
Right, let's keep going. Doo-doo. Right, I'm going to read one or two more, and then I'm going to go and make breakfast. He and Priscilla were evenly yoked and were a pair to be reckoned with, physically, emotionally, even physiologically. They were truly meant for each other, and I can't even imagine them not being. It was... I agree with that. I can't imagine Priscilla and Elvis not of having that relationship. It's quite, you know, their marriage is iconic. It is. It was a massive... Hi, Julie. Yeah, say hi, Julie.
No.
No, he's not going to. It was that she just said hi, sweetie, to you. Gino is 3. It was a massive... What's it say? It was the massive... Right, no. Can we just... Let me read this. It was the massive outside elements that inevitably parted them, but never took them down. Their love and connection undeniably remained intact, 100%. Oh, that's not true. It was never anyone else. He was her everything and vice versa. Money and age are only numbers. The rest is the proof. It's in the pudding. You are correct. They even looked alike. Yeah, I suppose they did, isn't it? They were both stunning people. It's undeniable and beautiful to the extent that others will allow it to be. Outside influences on every relationship is inevitable. So one can only imagine the scope of the very public love story. Love story nonetheless. I love the movie and I truly believe the wedding was real and well thought out to keep it as private as possible without doing it. It's just a home with the justice of the peace as such. Bit confused. All good intentions were coming from both sets of parents, and what could have been, it's not celebrity driven. We'll never know. I mean, I've watched the footage over and over, and I do think the wedding was a very special time. I really do. So could yeah. Oh, thank you, Julie. He is cute, yeah. And I got 5 of them, but the older one's I got a 14-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy, 17-year-old daughter, and then Tino is 3, and I got little Yasmin who is 7. She's at school, but I really do believe that they did go into that wedding with good intentions. I really do. And I think Elvis had the right attitude around the wedding, after the wedding. But I do think after a year or so, everything just went wrong. That's the truth of it. And there's so many different factors to blame. It isn't just her mistakes, his mistakes, but obviously the medication must have had an impact. It must have done. If you're living with someone who's got dependency with different medications, different drugs, really, I I've had girlfriends when I was when I was in my 20s. I had girlfriends that some of them had a drink problem or a drug problem, and it was difficult. It was hard, and things were never going to work out. So I have to give that to Priscilla. That must have been tough. There's one here, guys. Elvis has a secret daughter. Her name is Liz Presley. I get so many. I literally get thousands of messages. Oh, hello, Maxine. Hi from Oxford in the UK. Hi, Maxine. How are you going? All right? And I'm just sat here with my kid waffling on about Elvis, reading some comments. Nice to make your acquaintance. Oxford is beautiful. Right, let's keep going on I like these comments. It's just so interesting. And I do try and reply to all these comments, but it isn't straightforward because I literally get thousands. So, and some of them are so heated and angry, I'm unsure what to say. Let's have a look. Let's go back to comments. Let's whiz down. I'm going to whiz down. There literally is thousands. Yeah. So I'm asking people where they were at the time of the funeral, and one user says, I woke up from a C-section to find out that Elvis had died. That's a shocker. Right, let's have a look. Obviously, loads saying it was the saddest day of my life. May he rest in peace. Definitely remember the day and the sadness. I felt very sad. He truly was the greatest. Just so many. Let's have a look. Hands down, the biggest and the best definition of an American idol, Elvis Presley, is not even close. Better looking, most records sold. It isn't even close. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. And it's just, isn't it amazing? Is it 47 years later? And the comments, I think he's loved now as much as he was then. New Orleans. Wow, that's a beautiful place, Julie. New Orleans. Wow. Is it raining? In England, it's pouring with rain. I was 6 years old and I still remember it. My whole family was devastated. It was like family members passed. Yeah. Now, I think I was about 9 and I was on a camping holiday with the Cub Scouts. I don't know what your equivalent of the Cub Scouts is in America. I'm trying to remember what you call them.
I am America.
Yeah, America. A lot of these people talking now. You got one in Oxford, one in America. Right, let's have a look. Let's just whiz through. Right. So, Melinda Green, he was a moneymaker to them. Took a big percentage from Elvis. So that this must be one on commenting on Colonel Tom Parker. And then now this one's commenting on the movies. But we do enjoy the movies. Regardless, poor Elvis. He didn't get the recognition he deserved. I love him forever. Was never impressed with James Dean, though. I feel sorry for what happened to James Dean. Yeah, it's very sad. And this is the funny thing about the movies, is that I know that a lot of them were corny, but as a kid growing up, aged 8, 9, 10, 11, those years, in the 70s, I loved the corny movies. They were really child-friendly. So, yes, they weren't dramatic roles, the later ones, but as a kid, I couldn't wait for them to come on. I think they used to put them on Saturdays. You're welcome, Julie. So, if I have favourite films that Elvis made. King Creole is my favourite, but it wasn't just King Creole. I liked quite a few of them. I liked Jailhouse Rock, and yes, Elvis definitely had it in him to be an amazing dramatic actor, but we also liked to see the fun side of Elvis, and we're so lucky that we caught Elvis looking at his best, super handsome, super fit, slim and tanned and full of confidence and full of charm. And that's one good thing about the movies that Elvis made all through the 60s and the late 50s, that he just looked amazing, mesmerizing, life-changing. That is how he looked. So is it Goldie Hawn that said that Elvis turned her jeans on? I saw that in an interview. So he had to be a great actor to pull some of those movies off. Bless him. He did, yeah. But I put them on now. There's a few of them that are free on YouTube. Yes, it was, yeah. And like, do you know what? I've seen there's a guy who lives in New Orleans, has made a video and gone to all the film sets of where all the different parts of King Creole was filmed. And actually, there's more than one, but there's one in particular, and I watched it the other day. It's really interesting seeing, and the guy was sort of standing in the same positions, and then saying, and then obviously the background hasn't hardly changed, and it even went to the bit where he's on the balcony. You know, the opening sequence of King Creole where he's singing, and he even stands in front of that. Yeah, Crawfish, that's it. Yeah, and he's singing Crawfish on the balcony, I think, and the guy who's put this YouTube video on, it stands in front of the balcony, and it hasn't changed, it's still there. So, but really interesting. Keep going. I want to see if I can find. This is Tom Jones. So a lot of my videos I've been posting have Tom Jones. It's so obvious that him and Tom were very close, and Tom really, really loved Elvis, which I'm not surprised. They were similar, weren't they? They had a lot of things in common. Let's have a look. Let's see if there's any. Right, let's have a look. It's all right. Okay. So let's have a look. This is one that has just come through. This is a long one. It's Elvis and Priscilla's wedding. Just turn that down a bit, please. So it's from Ruth Wilson. I don't know how it's going to go, so if it gets a bit not nice, I'll stop reading it. Snake or no snake? Royal Street, was it? Thanks for that info. Snake or no? Money hungry or not? All your judgmental women, Priscilla Presley got a gift you all only dream about for a husband. Elvis Presley was in love with Priscilla Presley's pet. Priscilla Presley. Right, not everybody wanted Elvis to be single, so you can use him even if you so-called fans. Elvis needed someone in his life to love, and he chose Priscilla Presley. I think that is true. Be happy for the two of them. That's hard for you. God gave Elvis a wife and a baby, Lisa Marie, and those two ladies made Elvis happy, and that's all he needed. So, I mean, that's a lot. This is from Ruth Wilson, yeah? I hope you don't mind me reading this, Ruth, if you watch this live. As for everybody else, with their money-hungry, broke, yeah, and the rest of those family members, the Smiths and those Presleys, I'm not sure who the Smiths are. Priscilla Presley was in their way. Was in their way. Right, okay, right. Priscilla Presley was talking to her husband to let them go. Look, what happened to Elvis? This superstar died without money to save his house. Priscilla Presley was out of his life by then. Yeah, so I think she's talking about when Elvis was financially in a position where he could lose Gracelands. I'm finding it hard to read this, but let's just okay. But she came to help save Graceland, for her daughter will have their inheritance, and Elvis wouldn't be put to shame. And bless her for the gift to the man she loved until the day he died. And I think she's referring to the fact that at some point, because obviously Priscilla was executor to Graceland, I do think at some point Priscilla, with other people, stepped in and decided they were going to make it a living museum and restore the property and save it for Lisa Marie. And on Lisa Marie's behalf, Priscilla was in charge. And I also know that when Lisa Marie turned 25, she allowed Priscilla to carry on running things. So there's a lot of strong views about the Living Museum that Priscilla Presley was in charge of, and it shows her in videos on YouTube on the opening of Gracelands. So again, it's all complicated, all complicated. Let's have a look. Julia, I love all his films. Just seeing and hearing him was amazing. He could have sang the phone book, and I have loved it. Yeah, I'm the same. I just love seeing Elvis all the time. Sometimes I just have Elvis films on in the background while I'm doing other things, cooking or just playing with the kids. It just makes you feel comfortable. So let's just read the last part of this. Let's have a look. So she loved until the day he died, and Priscilla Presley kept her promise. Elvis, the king of rock and roll, will never be forgotten. What a blessing to soul of this man. God bless you, Elvis and Lisa Presley, from Priscilla Presley. So I will say this: she has definitely helped keep his memory alive. Definitely, of course she has. That's her job. As many of you will say, and she's been handsomely paid to do that. But I also think she does love doing it as well.
Is there more in here?
Yeah. She, 1 second. She does love doing it as well. And, you know, it's pretty obvious now that she's almost nothing to do with the running of Graceland. Now I think Riley Keough has taken the reins there. And I've heard Riley Keough is living in Australia with a are they married? I think they've had a child or a surrogate child. I'm not really sure. But so running Gracelands from Australia, that's a bit of an odd one for me. But I actually watched one of Riley Keough's films last night. It's like in a haunted house. She's a very good actress. I'll say that about her. The Daisy Chain series that is on Netflix. I don't know how many of you have watched it, but it was okay. I don't know. I found it a bit boring. So, what do you guys think of the Daisy, where she plays a singer? What do you guys think of it? A few years ago, I went to the O2 in London to see an exhibition of Elvis jumpsuit car and Lisa Marie's golf cart and keys. It was amazing. I got some really great pictures. Yeah, I went as well, Maxine. And it was a birthday treat from my wife. And yeah, it was amazing. And I loved being able to stand next to the clothing that he wore, the actual clothing that he wore. Is amazing. And there was, I don't know if you remember, there was like a small cinema room that you could sit there and watch footage of Elvis. So yeah, it was really good. And you know, now they're doing the same thing now. There's an exhibition in London, and I think it's what's it called? I think it's in the Arches. That's what it is. It's Elvis in the Arches in London. I'm not sure what part of London. It might be Piccadilly. I'm not sure. And they've extended it till September, and I was going to go again on my birthday. So yes, so interesting. Right, so I think I'm going to cut it now. I think I've waffled on enough. I hope I haven't been too boring. So the general gist is I'm just telling you about the videos I've made, and I'm responding to some of these comments. And I just want all the people that are commenting that watch this live stream is that, you know, whatever your views are, you're entitled to your views, however strong they are, however much I disagree with them. I will always show respect to your views and your rights to your views, and I'll never be rude, and I'll always try and be understanding, and I'll try and learn. I learn from a lot of these comments because I'm still learning about Elvis. There's a lot of things about Elvis and everything around Elvis that I don't know, and I do get my facts wrong sometimes. I get my dates wrong. Sometimes I get my spelling wrong. So I'm no expert. I am just a fan. That's all I am, that has been blessed with having a channel that has really, really taken off and is really doing well, which obviously is completely down to my subscribers. And I really thank all my subscribers for subscribing and watching my channel. Every one of you mean a lot to me. So are we going to say goodbye?
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So we're going to wave and we'll speak to you all again really soon. I hope you've enjoyed it. God bless you, whoever your God is. May he go with you. And I send you all love.
Dad, you said I can have a chocolate bar.
Yeah.